Dear students, welcome to my channel. In our operating system tutorial series, today we will discuss about CPU scheduling and first come first serve scheduling. Okay, as you know that there are lots of CPU scheduling algorithms are there. Okay, so today we will discuss the main concept behind CPU scheduling and also first come first serve scheduling algorithm. So myself Niladri Shekhar Pal, I am working as an assistant professor at Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Department at Computer Science and Engineering Department. Okay. So what is process scheduling? Basically, it is an essential part of a multi-programming operating system. As you know that in multi-programming operating system, multiple processes run simultaneously. Okay, so to execute, but CPU can execute one process at a time. Okay, so there must be a scheduling algorithm by which CPU will execute process one by one or parallelly. Okay, such operating systems allow more than one process to be loaded into the executable memory at a time, and the loaded process shares the CPU using time multiplexer. The process scheduling is basically the activity of the process manager that handles the removal of the running process from the CPU and the selection of another process on the basis of particular strategy. Okay, so what are the process scheduling queues? Okay, at first there may be a job queue. Okay, so there may be multiple processes, okay, or multiple tasks, or may we can say that multiple jobs in CPU that needs to be executed by CPU. At first, all the programs or processes or jobs are in the secondary memory, and from secondary memory it comes to the main memory, and from main memory CPU executes one by one processes. So in the main memory there may be a queue of jobs. Okay, and next one is ready queue. Ready queue is when a process, as we know earlier that in what we have seen in the defined states of a process, a job may be in new state or in ready state or in running state. New state means when the job is going to be created, it is in the secondary memory. Okay, so after creation it comes to the after creation it came to the main memory, or you can say that after new state it comes to the ready state. Okay, from ready state it goes to the running state for execution by the CPU. So what is the ready queue? This queue basically keeps a set of all the processes resides in the main memory, ready and waiting to execute. Okay, a new process is always put in this queue. Okay, so this queue keeps a set of all processes residing in main memory. Okay, so ready and waiting to execute. A new process is always put in this queue. Okay, so there may be lots of processes in the ready queue, or we can say that in the ready state. Okay, so the CPU will execute those processes according to different kinds of algorithms. Next come devices queues. Suppose imagine a situation where the processes needs input output devices. Okay, suppose a particular process needs the printer. Okay, suppose there are 3 to 4 processes, all the processes needs printer. Okay, but there is a single printer, and the printer can be used by a single process at a time. Okay, so there may is another queue. Okay, for what? For the uses of input output devices. Okay, so the processes which are blocked due to unavailability of an IO device constitute this queue. Okay, so there may be 4 processes, only one processes will execute the IO operation. So all the 3 processes are in the queue. Okay, so as you can see, this is the pictorial representation of process scheduling queues. Okay, so at first all the processes are in the job queue. Okay, so it is not after it is before it is created. It is basically in the secondary memory. So after creation, it comes to the ready queue. Okay, lots of processes may be here. Okay, so why all the processes are in the ready queue? For execution by the CPU. CPU will take one by one processes. Okay, so this is IO waiting queue. Okay, suppose a process is from ready to CPU for running state, basically for the execution of CPU. Okay, so at during the execution of CPU, suppose that process needs the IO operation, so it goes to the this IO waiting queue. Okay, for IO operation, and after this IO operation, it again go to this ready queue. So before creating the jobs, all the jobs are in the ready queue. After creation, it goes to the ready queue. Okay, so it's make the queue be why, because CPU will execute one by one process. Okay, so suppose when the process is executing by the CPU, there all the processes maybe need the IO operation. So from the CPU, the that processes comes to the this IO waiting queue. Okay, why this is the IO waiting queue? Because the IO operation will be done here. Okay, so after completing the IO operation, it again go to the ready. Okay, so why we use scheduling algorithm, or why we can, what is the purpose of this scheduling algorithm? Number one is maximum CPU utilization. Okay, we always try that to execute the process at minimum time, or we will try whether that the CPU will get maximum amount of time. Okay, for execution. For that, we will always try to maximum CPU utilization. So every time we will try whether the CPU will be busy all the time. Okay, so this is the maximum CPU utilization. Next one is fair allocation of CPU. Okay, suppose there may be 3 to 4 processes. If all the process always try to get access of the CPU, what will happen? There will be a deadlock situation or a jam situation. Okay, so we will always try whether every process will get a fair allocation of CPU or a there. So for that there must be a scheduling. Okay. Next one is maximum throughput. We will always try whether we will get maximum throughput. Okay. Next one is minimum turnaround time. Turnaround time is nothing but the completion time minus arrival time. Okay. So we will always try that the turnaround time is always be minimum. We will always try to make it minimum. Next is minimum waiting time. Okay. As we know, this is a very important. Okay. So we will always try to check whether the waiting time for a particular process always be minimized. Next one is minimum response time. Okay, so minimum response time is nothing but the how much time a CPU takes to start execute. Okay, of a process. As you know, all the processes are in secondary memory, and from secondary memory it comes to the main memory, and from that main memory CPU executes one by one process. Okay, so we'll always try to minimize this time amount of time. Okay, so next, various time related to the process. We have basically this is the ready state. Okay, next one is running state. Next one is completed state. Okay, so as you can see that this is the ready state. That means the process already created and it is in the main memory. Okay, why? And it is waiting for the CPU for execution. Run means it is executable state. Okay, that is CPU is running the processes. Next is completed state. Okay, completed means the process is already completed. So this is the arrival time. Okay, so CPU, the process came to the main memory, and this is the completion time. Completion time means the process is already completed. So what is the waiting time? Waiting time is the time when the CPU starts its execution and minus the arrival time. Okay, So what is the waiting time? Waiting time means suppose a process came to the main memory for from the new state to ready state. Okay, so it will wait for few microsecond or few unit of time in the ready state. Okay, and it wait for the CPU for execution. So that amount of time it wait in the main memory for CPU execution is called the waiting time. Next is burst time. Burst time means the amount of time required for execution of a process. Okay, so it is basically calculated by completion time minus running time. That is basically running starting time actually from when it is started and when it is completed. That amount of time is called the burst time. So as we can see that there are basically two important time, that is waiting time and the burst time, completion time and arrival time. Arrival time means the at which time the process comes to the main memory or in the ready state. Waiting time means the amount of time it waits in the main memory for the execution by the CPU. Burst time means the amount of time it's executed, okay, by the CPU, and the completion time means the time when the process completed its execution. So what is arrival time? So first one is the arrival time. The time at which the process enters into the ready queue is called the arrival time. Okay. So the time when it came to the main memory. Okay, it's called the arrival time of a process. Next is burst time. The total amount of time required by the CPU to execute the whole process is called the burst time. This does not include the waiting time. It is confusing to calculate the execution time for a process even before executing it. Hence, the scheduling problems based on the burst time cannot be implemented in reality. Okay, so the what is burst time? The total amount of time required by the CPU, okay, to execute the whole process, okay, is called the burst time. Burst time is nothing but the amount of time the process engaged in by the CPU, okay. So the amount of time the CPU executes that process is called the burst time, okay. It does not mean that when the it does not actually I want to say that it does not include that time when the process came to the main memory, okay, and waited for the CPU to execute. Next one is turnaround time. What is turnaround time? It is nothing but the total amount of time, okay, spent by the process from its arrival to its completion. Suppose what will happen? A process is at first in the new state, okay, it's created and it came to the ready state. Okay, ready state means it is in the main memory. Okay, so it's waited for the ready state for the access of the CPU, and after some time, according to CPU scheduling algorithm, the process has been executed. Okay, and after it may be used by the IO operation. It may be go from the IO operation to the again ready state. Okay, so and after at a certain time it will be completed. Okay, so turnaround time means the time when it is completed minus when it came to the main memory. The total complete time from main memory it came to the main memory and when it is completed. Okay, next one is waiting time. Waiting time, what is waiting time? It is the total amount of time for which the process waits for the CPU to be assigned is called waiting time. That means the process came to the main memory or in the ready state, okay, and waits for the CPU to be accessed that process, okay. So that amount of time is the waiting time, okay. So the waiting time is nothing the amount of time before the access of the CPU. Next one is response time. This is basically the difference between the arrival time and the time at which the process first gets the CPU. Okay, it's called the response time. Okay, so from the arrival time to response time. Okay, it's called the response time. Next, we have basically two types of algorithm, CPU scheduling algorithm. One is called non-preemptive algorithm and another one is preemptive scheduling algorithm. So what is non-preemptive algorithm? Basically, in non-preemptive algorithms, suppose if a process starts executed, okay, so the CPU will leave the execution of that particular process after completion of that process. It will not access any other process before completion of that process. That is called the non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. So in case of non-preemptive scheduling algorithm, no process, CPU will not leave any process before completion. But in case of preemptive scheduling algorithm, that is the totally different of non-preemptive algorithm. In preemptive scheduling algorithm, a CPU can leave the access of that particular process before completion of that process. Okay, so there are basically two types of scheduling algorithm. One is non-preemptive and in the preemptive. So in non-preemptive algorithms are designed so that once a process enters the running state, it cannot be preemptive until it completes its allocated time. And what is preemptive algorithm? The preemptive scheduling is based on priority, where a scheduler may preempt a low priority running process anytime when a high priority process enters into a ready state. So at first we will discuss first come first serve scheduling algorithm. We have lots of scheduling algorithm like first come first serve, shortest job first. So at first today we will discuss first come first serve. This means that the process which comes first to the CPU main memory for execution will be executed by the CPU first. So jobs are executed on first come first serve basis. It is a non-preemptive preemptive scheduling algorithm. FCFS can be preemptive or non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. It is easy to understand and implement. We will discuss when we will discuss a problem on FCFS. You can easily understand that it is very much easy. Its implementation is based on FIFO-Q. Okay, that is first in first out. Poor in performance as average time is high. Okay, so it's basically time complexity is poor as it takes much more time for a particular process. So that what will happen that the average waiting time become high. Next, what are the advantages of FCFS? It is basically a simple and easy to understand. Next one, it can be easily implemented using queue data structure. So you can see that the FCFS will be completed using queue data structure or implemented using the queue data structure. It does not lead to starvation. Okay, it does not lead to starvation. And what are the disadvantages? It does not consider the priority or burst time of the processes. So in case of FCFS, we will not check any priority or burst time. Burst time means how many time it will take. Priority means some process will have the priority. Suppose a particular process has the highest priority. Highest priority means it will execute fast. Okay, as it has the highest priority. Okay, as we know that when we moving on the road, if there is a convoy of chief minister or prime minister or any other VIPs, it will be lived fast. Okay, why it is lived fast? Because the priority of them are higher than us. Okay, next it suffers from convoy conflict. Okay, next we will do a problem of FCFS scheduling algorithm. So as you can see that there are five processes. There P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5 and the arrival time and burst time of those five processes are given. So we have to find out the average waiting time and average turnaround time using this FCFS scheduling algorithm. So let's do the problem. Okay. So we have five processes P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5 and arrival times are for P1 arrival time is 3, for P2 arrival time is 5, for P3 arrival time is 0 and for P4 the arrival time is 5 and for P5 is 4. And burst time means the amount of time it's get executed. Okay. So for P1 burst time is 4, P2 is 3, for P3 it is 2, for P4 it is 1, and for P5 it is 3. So in first come first served CPU scheduling algorithm, we will only look after the arrival time. Okay. So in first come first served, the process which has been came first to the CPU will be executed first. So from this arrival time table, we can see that P3 arrival time of P3 is 0. So P3 will execute it first. We will do it using non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. So P3 will be executed first as the arrival time of P3 is 0 and it will be executed for 2 microseconds. So as you can see that P3 will execute it first. So when the P3 will starts execution at 0th time. So at 0th time P3 has started to execute. And how long it will be executed? For 2 microseconds. Okay. So as you can see for 2 microseconds it will be executed. So it will start at 0 microsecond and it will continue up to 2 microsecond. Okay. So this P3 has completed. So this P3 has been completed. So I will just give a cross mark. Okay. So after that, the arrival time of this one is 3. Okay. So P1 will next execute. Okay. So P1 will start at 2. Okay. And will continue up to for 4 microseconds. So 2 plus 4 is 6. Okay. But there is a problem. What is the problem? The arrival time is P1 is 3, okay, but P3 completed at 2, okay. So P3 will start at 3. So from 2 to 3 microsecond, the CPU will be in the idle state, okay. So from 2 to 3, the CPU will be idle state, okay. So for this 1 microsecond, CPU will be in the idle state, okay. So the process P1 will start execution from this 3 microsecond and will continue for 4 microsecond, okay, and it will end at 7 microsecond, okay. So P1 process will end execution. After that, so this 3 is completed, this 0 has been completed, okay. So after that, this P5 will be executed. This P5 will be executed. So P5 will start at this 7 and will continue up to 3 microseconds. Okay. So the answer, so the P5 process will execute up to 10. Okay. So P5 process will end. Next, P4 and P2 both have the 5 arrival time. Okay. So we can do any one. Okay. So I am just using the P2 process first. Okay. So P2 will continue for 3 microseconds. Okay. So from 10 to 30. Okay. And after that, this P4 process will be executed. Okay. So P4 will execute for 1 microsecond. Okay. So as you can see that P3 process will start fast execution. It will start at 0 microsecond and continue up to 2 microsecond. And next process is P1 and P1 arrives at 3 microsecond. Okay. So before 3, no process will is there. Okay. So from 2 to 3, the CPU will be in idle state. And at 3 microsecond, the P1 has started execution and it will continue for 4 microseconds. After that, P5 will continue for 3 microsecond and P2 will continue for 3 microsecond and P4 will be continue for 1 microsecond. Okay. So all the processes are completed at 14 microseconds. So how we can check that whether the problem is correct or not? You just do one thing. You just add these values. So 4, 3, 7 to 9 plus 1, 10 plus 3, 13. Okay. Plus this is 1 waiting time, CPU idle time. So 1 plus 13 is 14. So you can see that all the processes completed at 14. Okay. So as you can see that when P3 process has started it has been completed. Okay, so before completion of P3, no process has been killed. Again, when P1 process will executed, no before completion of P1, no process has been started. And same thing for P5, P2, and P4. So we can say that this is a non-preemptive scheduling algorithm. Next come the turnaround time and waiting time of those processes. Okay, so the starting time for P3 is 0. Okay, so starting time for P1 is 0. Okay, so P1 started here. Okay, P1 started here. So starting time for P1 is 3. Next for P2 it is starting time is 9. Starting time means when CPU starts to execute. Okay, so for P2 it is 9. And for P3 it is 0. Okay. And for P4 it is 12. Okay. And for P5 it is 6. Okay. So these are all the starting types. Okay. These are all the starting types. And this is the completion times. Okay. So P3, P1 completed at 6. Okay. P2 completed at 12. Okay. P3 has completed at 2. P4 has completed at 13. And P5 completed at 9. Okay. So we have to find out now the starting waiting time. So as we know that the formula of waiting time is starting time minus the arrival time. Okay. So for P1, what is the starting time? For P1, starting time is 3. And what is the arrival time of P1? P1. The arrival time of P1 is also 3. Okay. So the waiting time will be 3 minus 3, it is 0. Next, check for P2. P2 starting time is 9 and P2 came at 5. So 9 minus 5. Okay, it will be 4. Next for P3. P3 started at 0. Okay, and P2 arrives at also 0. So 0 minus 0 is 0. Next for P4. P4 started at 12 and P4 came at 5. So 12 minus 5 is 7. Okay. Next for P5. P5 came at started at 6 and P5 came at 4. So 6 minus 4 will be 2. Okay. Next we will check the turnaround time. Turnaround time is nothing but the completion time minus arrival time. So P1, let's do for the P1. P1 arrived at P1 completed basically at 6 and arrived at 3. So 6 minus 3 is 3. Next for P2. P2's completion time is 12 and P2 came at 5. So 12 minus 5 is 7. Next for P3. P3 completed at 2 and P3 came at 0. So 2 minus 0 will be 2. Next P4. So P4 started completed at 13 and P4 arrived at 5. So 13 minus 5 will be 8. Okay. Next completion is for P5. P5 completed at 9 and P5 came at 4. Okay, so 9 minus 4 is 5. Okay, so what are the average waiting time and turnaround time? So to calculate average waiting time, we have to sum all these values. Okay, so 7 plus 2 plus 4. Okay, so average waiting time will be 0 plus 4 plus 0 plus 7 plus 2. 0 is here at plus 4. Okay. Next plus 0. Next plus 7. Next plus 2. Okay, if we divide plus all this and divide it by 5, we will get 2.6. Next, average turnaround time. For that, we have to add all these values. Okay, so 3 plus 7 plus 2 plus 8 plus 5 divided by 5. If we sum it and divide it by 5, the result will be 5. Okay, so 2.5, 6 and 5 is the waiting time and the turnaround time. Okay, average waiting time and turnaround. Okay, this is a very important. So let's do another example. Okay, so here you can see that there are 4 processes P1, P2, P3 and P4, and the arrival time and burst times are given. We have again have to find out the average waiting time and average turnaround time. Okay, so P1 process will start execute. So P1 will start at P1 will at start 0. Okay, and it will continue for 2 microseconds. Okay, so 0 plus 2 is 2. Next P2 process came, that is 1. So P2 will execute and P2 will execute for 2 microseconds. So from 2 to 4 it will execute. Okay, from 2 to 4. Next P3 will execute. P3 will start at 5. Okay, but P2 has completed at 4. So the CPU will be idle from 4 to 5. Okay, so CPU will be idle for 4 to 5. This is not expected. Okay, but it will happen. Okay, we will always try whether the CPU will be busy all the time, but here the CPU will be idle. Okay, so at 5, P3 process will start execute and it will continue for 3 microseconds. So it will start at 5 and continue for 3 and it will completed at 8. Next P4 process will be executed. It will start at 8 and will continue for 4 microseconds and the completion time is 12. Okay, so all the processes completed at 12. So let's check whether this problem is correct or not. So at first add these burst values. So 2 plus 2 4, 4 plus 3 7 and 7 plus 4 11 and 1 CPU idle time. So 11 plus 1 is 12. So you can check that 12 is the completion time of all the 4 processes. So let's now find the average turnaround time and average waiting time. So in this process you can see that when the P1 processes is started, it completed. Okay, so before completion of P1 process, no other process has started execution, and this is true for all P2, P3 and P4. So this is why we can say that this is a non-preemptive scheduling algorithm, as when the process started to execution, it has completed, and after completion of that particular process, another process has started to execute. Okay, so let's find out the waiting time and turnaround time. What is the starting? These are the arrival time and these are the completion time. We have written it from this table. Okay, so what is the starting time for P1? P1 started at 0. So P2 started at 2. Okay. So P3 started at 5. P3 at 5 and P4 at 8. P4 at 8. Okay. So completion times are given. P1 completed at 2, P2 completed at 4, P3 completed at 8, and P4 completed at 12. So what is the formula of waiting time? The formula of waiting time is starting time minus arrival time. So for P1 this is 0 minus 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. For P2 it is 2 minus 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. And for P3 it is 5 minus 5, that is 0. And for P4 it is 8. So 8 minus 6 is 2. Okay. So 8 minus 6 is 2. Okay. So this is the waiting time for P1, P2, P3 and 4. So let's check the turnaround time. The formula of turnaround time is completion time minus arrival time. So for P1 it is 2 minus 0. So 2 minus 0 is 2. For P2 it is 4 minus 1, that is 3. For P3 it is 8 minus 5, that is 3. And for P4 it is 12 minus 6, is 6. Okay. These are the turnaround time for P1, P2, P3 and P4. Okay. So let's find the average waiting time. So average waiting time is we have to sum 0 plus 1 plus 0 plus 2. Okay. And we have to divide it by 4 as there are 4 processes. And the answer is 0.75. And for turnaround time, we have to add these 4 values 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 6, 2 plus 3 plus 3 plus 6, and the answer is 3.5. Okay, so this is the problem on FCFS scheduling algorithm. Okay, so let's do another example. This has came to your semester examination. P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. 5 choices are there. Arrival times and bus times are given. Okay. So the process P1 will execute first as it has the 0 arrival time. Okay. So it has the 0 arrival time and it will continue for 3 microseconds. Okay. After that P2 will start execute and it will continue for 6 microseconds. Okay. Next P3 will start execute and it will continue for 4 microseconds. Okay. Next P4 will start execute at 6. Okay, so but it started at 30 and it will execute up to for 5 microseconds. After that P5 will start and it will continue for 2. Okay, so check whether all this is the correct or not. So add all these bars time. 3 plus 6 is 9, 9 plus 4 is 13, 13 plus 5 is 18 plus 2 20. So you can see that all the sum is correct. So let's find out the waiting time and turnaround time. So the starting time for P1 is 0. Okay. The starting time for P2 is 3. Starting time for P3 is 9. Starting time for P4 is 13. Starting time for P5 is 18. So we have to find out now the average waiting for the waiting time for P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5. So the formula of waiting time is starting time minus arrival time. So for P1 0 minus 0, it is 0. For P2 it is 3 minus 2, that is 1. For P3 it is 9 minus 4, that is 5. For P4 it is 13 minus 6, is 7. And for P5 it is 18 minus 8, that is 10. Now we have to find out the turnaround time and the formula is completion time minus arrival time. So for P1 it is 3 minus 0. For P2 it is 9 minus 2. For P3 it is 13 minus 4. For P4 it is 18 minus 6. And for P5 it is 20 minus 8. That is 12. So the average one is 0 plus 1 plus 5 plus 7 plus 10 by it will be divided by 5. Okay. So the average waiting time is 0 plus 0 plus 1 plus 5 plus 7 plus 10 divided by 5, it is 4.6. And the turnaround time is 3 plus 7 plus 9 plus 12 plus 12, that is 8.6. Okay students, this is all about first come first serve scheduling algorithm. Okay. In our next tutorial we will discuss another CPU scheduling algorithm. Okay. If you have any query, any doubt, you can write on the comment section. Okay. Or you can visit www.digitalclassroom.Niladjipal. Okay. At the Facebook page, this is my Facebook page, and you can like or comment anything. Okay. And if you have any doubt, you can mail me also at niladjipal86@gmail.com. So student, this is for the FCFS scheduling algorithm. In our next tutorial, we will discuss another one. For that, thank you.